ANZCAR returns tonight to the Magic Mile, a mainstay on the NASCAR calendar since 1993. It has always produced intriguing races, and we are ready for another one tonight. It's the E53 ANZCAR Cup series, and it's the 1 mile short track that is New Hampshire Motor Speedway. One of the more unique tracks on this calendar, it drives like a short track due to its variable small banking on the corners, but the cars are in excess of 160 miles an hour upon arrival to turns 1 and 3. Who is going to prevail as victor after 150 laps tonight? This is Performance Eastering. Matt Hunter on the cameras, my name's Ryan Jones, and alongside me for tonight is Carl Withy. Now, Carl, we've got 6 rounds, including tonight, left before the chase. Everyone's going to start paying attention to their spot on the ladder. Now, the top 13 points are going to get locked in the chase, and the rest of them, well, they've got nothing left to fight for after that other than pride. Have you got any hot takes or predictions on how the standings may change leading into that chase format?
Well, good day, Ryan, and hello to everybody out there at Performance East Streaming. Yes, we have got the chase coming up, and the end of the season is coming to a close, really. And there are a few people that aren't in the sort of the top 10s, I'd say, that we would expect up there. One of the people that's sort of quite noticeable, quite notable with his absence is Danny G, who's not up there. And it's kind of a few people like that who are just sitting on the edge of that top 10, who are going to be really wanting to get some good performances out there tonight to get their way into the championship. Of course, it would be a lot easier if our championship system was still working correctly so we could see all the numbers, but we do have our top 10 list up now so we can actually see everything. And a few drivers, like people like Dave Douglas and Danny G, as I said, who aren't in there, I do expect them to climb their way sort of towards that top bit and just try and get into that sort of chase period.
Yeah, of course, you've got all your big names up the front. You've got Jason Martin, you've got Skurlock up there, Edward Foster's up there as well, and Matty Clute, he's having a good championship this year. Up there, about 5th or 6th in the championship, which is good to see from him. But other than that, I think it's pretty much fair game for the rest of the field. You know, once you get past those top 3 or so spots in each race, it's generally a bit of a rotation of names into the top 5 each week. It's a very close race to get. There's a best of the rest spots behind whoever's dominating the race for that day. And yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting to see who can maintain their spot and who's going to really falter under pressure towards the end.
Yeah, well, as you said there, Matty Clute's up there, as well as Stephen Williams as well. Stephen Williams having a great season so far. He's actually 5th in the championship as we stand. And just a brilliant position for him. Mirko Dortnak as well is doing well this season and is really doing a good job to lock himself into that sort of chase position to win the championship. A few of the people that have won just a single race through the season, people like Kidogman, and sort of people we usually expect to be up there quite a lot, they're not quite up there yet, and it could be them missing out on the championship, which they will be kicking themselves for, I'm sure. But I'm sure the people that do get through will be very happy about it.
Yeah, just to make the top 13 would be a pretty decent achievement. So you've got a pretty talented group of drivers up here in ANZCAR, and to get into the chase format, give yourself a chance. Anything can happen in that chase format, so to give yourself a chance to maybe have a shot at the title, that top 13 is really going to help that. But practice is just coming to a close now, or warm-up I should say, just coming to a close. We've got 30 seconds left. Before we run through the grid for you for tonight's race, of course qualifying already completed in a separate session. Just running through a little bit of facts about the track. Obviously 48-degree track temp, so it's going to be quite hot out there and quite slippery. The track itself, it's an interesting one. The way this setup has been built, getting on the power out of turns 2 and turns 4 is a really difficult task, and I think some of the guys with a bit of road course experience may actually benefit from that, because there's a lot of throttle control and a lot of steering angle going the opposite way that you've got to really sort of apply and trying to keep the car under control, which guys who have driven maybe a supercar, for example, they're really going to know how to handle that. But other than that, yeah, it's going to be very interesting. There's a few bumps on this track as well, which are going to throw the car off in a myriad of different directions too. So it should make for a very interesting race.
Yeah, absolutely. New Hampshire is one of those tracks that's a bit of a punishing track to drive on, and not a lot of drivers do enjoy racing on it because it is a tricky one to use. Being that sort of mixture of a sort of normal track with that short track emphasis on it, there's a lot of braking involved. There's a lot of the corners are quite tricky to take, and the exit of the corners are very, very slippery as well.
Yeah, they certainly are. So it's a very unique track, as I mentioned up in the intro there, and it provides interesting races. And I'm hoping it's going to be another fantastic one tonight. But while we've got the cars lined up on the grid here, why don't you take us through the grid for tonight's race, Carl?
Yes, well, on pole position we have Braden Boulos, who set a fantastic time of a 27.96. The only person in the 27s tonight. Next to him is Graham Boland. I don't think we've seen Boland out in the championship this season so far. On row 2 we have Matt Danson with Josh Micklemore next to him. Matthew Cluett is continuing his good season with 5th place, with Edward Foster next to him. On row 4 we have Michael Scarlett and Danny G. Row 5 we have Jason Martin and Stephen Williams. Row 6 we have Mirko Dortnack and Darren McKenzie. Row 7 we have Hamish Gallagher and Norman Clark. Row 8 we have Roger Clark and Dave Douglas. Michael Latterer and Tristan Koch and James Robbie finish out the field. So 19 starters out there, well 19 people qualify. So we should be in for an interesting one here.
It really should be. I'm just trying to work out whether we're going to go green this lap. It's a short track, and normally on short tracks you get 2 laps to go to the green. But the lights do appear to be out in the pace car, so I'm going to have a guess that we might be going green this lap. Last takes when we go green.
Well, a guy that I expect to do well is Foster. He's usually good on the short tracks. I expect to see some interesting stuff from him. What about you?
I think we're going to see a bunch of the normal names out there. Boulos, Danson, they've all qualified well, and the pace car has indeed peeled off, and the green flag's in the air, and a good start there from Graham A. Boland. He'll lead the field down in the turn number 1, and Matt Danson's going to try and get up to the inside of Braden Boulos there as they head down into turn number 2 now and out of turn 2.
Yeah, great start there for Braden Boulos. Just looked like possibly Graham Boland just went down a little bit and just caught Josh Micklemore slightly off kilter there. He's fallen back a little bit. Everybody's away clean though. It's good to see. We've got everybody sort of started relatively well. Not too many changes of position. Jason Martin's having a big chase through the field at the moment as well.
Yeah, apologies. I got my names mixed up at the start there. It was in fact Boulos that got away to that excellent start. As we just see Matt. What on earth has happened there for Boland? Boland's just had a monumental crash down the back straight, and I have no idea what's just happened.
That was a huge off. He's taken off pretty much the whole of the front car there. That was a massive error. He's going to be kicking himself for that. I'm just going to go back and try and see what's actually happened with that one. While I do that, though, we'll just see if anything else is going on through the field. That was bizarre.
Right. So, well, I'm not sure whether there's a comment on that one, just to gloss over that one, Carl.
I don't know what to say about that one. That was an odd one. We've seen some odd things happen. Danny G last year springs to mind in the Thunder Series where his car went off to space. But that's the first time I've seen something like that happen, Ryan.
So basically what I think has happened here is they've undergone some very recent renovations to the New Hampshire track, and part of the renovations that they put in were actually working landmines onto the back straightaway, and it appears that Graham A. Boland's hit one of them. That's all I can say for that one.
Unfortunately, he didn't use the Zimmerit to stop the magnetization. Words are failing me. Yeah, that was a strange one. Very odd there. Everybody else seems to be okay from it. It was just he was just behind Matt Danson, I think it was. Just sort of having a look towards his car to see if there's any damage to the rear of it. And doesn't appear to be any damage to anyone else. So, not a clue what happened there.
Yeah, that's a strange one. That's our racing for you sometimes, and that's the caveat of online racing. But the show goes on with one car less now to contest the rest of this race. 150 laps in distance tonight. Only on lap 4, so plenty of racing to come.
And that was a big scalp to go out so early as well. You do have to feel for Graham Boland there. That was a real shocker. He did so well. He had very good qualifying times as well. So one of the big leaders for this race has been knocked out instantly. But what I might do, Ryan, just because we didn't go through it fully before we went green, I might just quickly run down the championship.
Sounds good.
So, in first place with the championship, we have Jason Martin with 494 points. Second, we have Josh Micklemore. Third, we have Michael Skurlock with Edward Foster in fourth. Fifth place, we have Stephen Williams with Matthew Cluett behind him in sixth. Seventh, we have Chris Purnell with Marco Dortnack behind him. And in ninth place, we have Matt Danson with Riley Curtis in 10th. So that's our top 10 in the championship so far this season. We've had to do the old pen and paper route of working that out, and thankfully Edward Foster managed to do that for us. So thanks to him for actually working it out the old-fashioned way. But we'll probably go back to green relatively shortly here. Not seen anyone dash in to quickly get a change of tyres or any sort of tops up of fuel or anything like that. So not to be unexpected, of course, on this side of the track.
Yeah, and I believe Boland is actually still sat down in the infield there in his number 17 machine, so not quite sure what he's doing down there. Maybe he's just walked away from the computer in disgust at that, because I would probably do the same thing if I was him. But other than that, it looks like we should be going green this time by. It'll be Boulos that leads you away once again, and Danson will be up in second place. The rest of the field has all moved up one spot as a result of that. Micklemore and Cluett will make up that second row.
Yes, it's going to be an interesting restart here. We'll see if Matt Danson's able to get the jump on Boulos here. Boulos, last time out, I think he was just a little bit slower on his restart, so it'll be interesting to see how these two go here. And of course, they've got Josh Micklemore biting at their heels behind him, with Cluett there as well in fourth.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how this one's going to go. I think Danson's probably going to fight Boulos pretty hard. He won't want to let him get away from this field too much, and I think those guys behind got a bit to prove as well. Cluett eager to make up some spots in the championship, as will be Foster, and Micklemore could probably be a bit higher up in the championship. He could probably be leading it, so we'll see how these guys go as we look for the restart. And once again, Boulos just drives away from them. Pretty decent restart there for Boulos, and Matt Danson's going to keep second place away from Micklemore. He should do at least, and he will do, as they come down off turn number 2 as Skurlock drove it in deep to turn 2 there. He's going to be to the outside of Foster as he there goes side by side, and almost contact between the pair of them as they head down to turn number 3, the bumpy run down this back straight.
Yeah, great restart by there. We've got Skurlock coming up as well. He's just run a bit wide though, and that's let Foster go underneath him, and it's going to allow Jason Martin to get up underneath him as well. So Skurlock had a bit of a late dive there, and it's cost him a little bit. Just behind them, they've got Danny G as well, fighting to try and get into the chase, of course. And what you were saying before about people wanting to lock in their position as well, it's very important to do that, because anything can happen in motorsport and online racing, and we have seen that it can absolutely happen.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about. You don't want to leave it down to that last race, and your T-points inside the chase, and you hit a landmine. It's not fantastic, and you'd be pretty furious. So you really want to push as hard as you can, as early as you can to, not in the race, but in the championship, to lock yourself in, not have to worry about it, not have the pressure as well. Pressure can play a huge part in racing, as you see Foster and Skurlock are still side by side. Martin looks like he's got pace over these two, just cannot seem to find a way past him as Skurlock takes that higher line up on the grayer part of the track up top. There, not too much grip out there at the moment, but he's doing a good job at hanging there, and he's going to clear him down to the turn 1.
Yeah, and that's just going to allow Martin to just come up to the side of Foster as well, and Foster's just going to defend him, just running the middle line. Skurlock's actually running extremely well to be up there on that high line, because it's very slippery, and down the inside goes Martin. He's managed to position himself well. That means Foster's going to have to take that outside line, which is just not quite as grippy, and it's going to allow Martin to get just down the inside. Now it's going to be who gets the best runoff, and it looks like they're pretty much even as they come across the start-finish line, but Foster's got a little bit more speed. He's just having to brake a little bit earlier, and that's going to allow Martin to get the car just a little bit in front of him. And Martin should get the move done just about here.
He should do, but he's got a bit loose, so I was just going to touch on it. You've got to be careful running side by side at New Hampshire. Very loose off the corners, and either car can get loose and take the other one out, and Martin got loose there. Luckily, he was on the inside and went down further to the inside, not up the track. But it's allowed Foster to regain some of that momentum. Now he's going to get back a nose in front of Martin, and now Martin on the entry. I think we'll see the seesaw for a couple laps here as Darren McKenzie looks in behind him to try and find a way past.
Yeah, the 21 and 53 are really working hard there. Apparently we've got a couple of issues just on the feed, so we do apologise about that. We'll try and use drivers' numbers and names as much as we can. As Darren McKenzie in the number 3, which is the Game of Thrones liveried Ford, going down the inside of Foster, trying to make a move on him now as well, as Jason Martin makes his way through and gets in front of Foster in that purple car.
Yeah, back out front, Boulos is driving pretty comfortably right now. He's got a half a second of an advantage over Matt Danson, so he's pretty happy with that. He just wanted to maintain that, not use up his tyres too much in this one. Micklemore's just hanging in there as well too, and Cloak's doing a good job to fend off Skurlock as Foster almost right into the back of Mackenzie there, and he might almost come and approach from Hamish Gallagher soon at this.
Yeah, Foster's just losing a little bit of time here. I do know he's not too well at the moment, so that might be affecting him. It's not fun driving a race car or even an online car when you're a little bit under the weather, and it's sometimes just it makes you lose a little bit of pace. But he's struggling a little bit. He could just be trying to eke out a little bit more stint length. There are a few things that you could be doing at this stage. Of course, you can't win the race in the first couple of laps, but you sure as heck can lose one.
And it seems like we've got some issues with the following cars. No names showing up. The 01 of Boulos, the 30 of Matt Danson, the 09 is being driven by Roger Clark, the 16 is Norman Clark back in 17th, and the 41, which is James Robbie. So if you're wondering who's driving those cars, that's who is driving them.
Yes, and the 17 is unfortunately out already, and that was Graham Boland.
And Boland has finally retired that car to the pit lane. He was sat down in the infield for quite some time there. So I'll see if he gets that down in Japan, gets back out, salvage some points. Being just a 19 car field, he can still salvage about 20 points in this one. So that's a bonus to having a smaller field, which of course leads back to the championship equation. Get as many points as you can, no matter how you.
Yeah, we've got a good little battle starting up here between Foster in the number 53, Gallagher in the number 1, and Danny G in the 24. Gallagher's just going to look down the inside of Foster now, and he's going to try and put the move down on the inside. Foster's going to hold that middle line, and he's holding it well. Gallagher's just got a little bit loose, but he's holding it through there, and Foster's going to be able to put the power on a little bit earlier and just slide back in front of Gallagher possibly. And
Mackenzie's made a mistake. He was down on the infield there, came back up onto the track, and now they're going to be 3 wide entering turn 3, but they sort themselves out, and he's up the track. He's done a good job there to stay off Foster, or if he got into him, it was very lightly there. Look, for sure they're going to make big contact, and they've made contact, and Foster gets rotated up into the wall, goes Hamish Gallagher as well. Foster's going to be pretty upset over that one, I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, that was a big one there, and spun him right round. Luckily, I think everybody managed to avoid it. It almost ended up collecting his teammate, Dave Douglas, down there. The number 10 of Dave Douglas just kind of flying through the corner and saw his teammate facing the wrong direction, but managed to avoid the wreck happily for himself. And that does mean we're back under caution again.
Yeah, I sung his praises off turn 4 there. He got a bit of understeer coming off turn 4 and almost washed up into Foster. Did well to avoid him, but I'm not quite sure what's happened down in the turn number 1. He's just either misjudged his braking zone or misjudged the positioning of his car and got into the left rear of Foster, which is the one spot on the car where if you have to choose where to get hit, that's going to be the last spot you choose, because you cop a whack in that spot and you go it around any day of the week. And unfortunately for Hamish Gallagher, he was a bit of an innocent bystander on that. He copped a whack as well, and he got into the wall, but pretty lightly. So I think Gallagher should be right to continue with some repairs, and I think Foster should be as well. It was a relatively low speed crash in the end for him.
Yeah, so all the cars are going to come through into the pit lane this time round by the looks of it. Nobody's going to risk it by staying out there. So now the battle for the pit lane begins, and Braden Boulos, of course, will be leading the field in. We'll have to see how the others go and see who makes it out in front. So Boulos is just getting his service done now, and we'll see if he manages to retain the lead back on the exit of this pit period. And he's going out, and Matt Danson just gets the lead there, just by a couple of millimeters. Fantastic pit stop for Matt Danson. Josh Mickelmore stays in third, or gets to third. I think he actually managed to jump a spot there. A really good pit stop for him. Jason Martin as well. Looks like he was a bit of a beneficiary from that pit stop as well. So a really good job from Matt Danson there. One heck of a pit stop. He really sped through and got himself back into the lead.
Yeah, good stop from the 30 there. Micklemore didn't gain a spot. He kept his spot, of course. Bit of a caveat of having the pit lane on the front straight. Traversing the start-finish line means you can make your pit stop before the timing loop registers, which means cars that have their pit stop further down the front straight than you will momentarily score ahead of you on the track, and that's probably why you thought Micklemore gained a spot there, because he was scored in 4th, I think, for a second, but still in 3rd place is Josh Micklemore. Clue, as you mentioned, still in 4th, and Skurlock still 5th, so it's all pretty even. That top 10, no big changes. Dave Douglas, let's touch on him for a second. He started back in 16th place. I had a quick look at him for a lap or so, half a lap or so, back a few laps ago, and he was just running around minding his own business, not doing too much of anything. And as we say, he's a driver that needs to get some good performances in here to work his way up in the championship.
Yeah, he's going to be looking to try and claw his way back up this field, back up into the positions to try and get himself into the chase, of course. Dave has got the real strength of just having great racecraft. He's not always the fastest in qualifying, but he's usually up there or ahead of the rest when it comes to sort of race pace in general. He's very, very good at that. On this kind of short track, sometimes it pays off to be a little bit further back, because you've got that sort of opportunity to allow sort of incidents to happen around you and things like that, and that's kind of what Dave Douglas has let happen right now, and it's really helped him work his way up the leaderboard a bit.
And yeah, Douglas, of course, he's not a fan of this track, which might be damping his efforts a bit, but he is carrying a bit of momentum. He won the season opening truck race on Monday night over at Pocono with an excellent fuel-saving strategy to win over Jason Martin. If you're going to win, beat Martin. That's the win you want to make there. That's the win you want to get, sorry, my bad. But he did a fantastic job there. He should have a bit of momentum from that. And if you want to get involved in the truck series, join the ANZCAR League and turn up Monday night. It's open to everyone, so that's a series that's started up again now. But this caution period's nearly over, Carl. Going back green.
We'll be going green very shortly as the pace car comes in, and Danson's put his foot down to the floor. Looks like Bullis has managed to get a decent restart with him, and across the line they come, back to the green flag racing. Oh, and am I seeing that right? Danson just dropped back. Danson had a bit of an issue there. Yeah, Matt Danson has dropped really far back, actually. I actually missed what was happening there for a second. I think maybe he made a mistake.
Yeah, I think he's either jumped onto the brakes as if he's going in there at full steam, or he's missed a shift. That's an odd one for Danson, and yet another odd development in this race after the 17th incident earlier on. So I guess we're going to have to watch Danson fight his way back to the pack as Clute gets a bit sideways off turn number 2, saves it, keeps it off the wall, and he'll fall back into 4th place as Martin. Martin's finding his way back up into 3rd place. Watch out for him to come through into the lead sooner or later.
Yeah, just going back to watch that restart quickly, and yeah, Danson was right on the rev limiter there. It just looks like he didn't shift up the gear properly. He might have just missed top gear there for a second, and that's what caused that little bit of an interesting instant there. So he's going to have to chase his way back up the pack now.
That's an uncharacteristic mistake for Danson. He's a very smooth and consistent driver. You don't often see him making those sorts of mistakes, so that's a bit of a surprise on that one. You probably won't see that again for the rest of the race from him.
Yeah, it's very rare to see mistakes from Danson on the track. He is very smooth, and he's very good at keeping that car out of trouble. Another guy that is good
Foster's
keeping...
been sent again. This time it's by Dornack, but this time Foster's able to drive down the track and save it. Oh, he's having a tough race, isn't he, old 53, Edward Foster?
Yeah, his car's getting a bit roughed up there. That was a unfortunate moment. Just looks like Dornack was just running a little bit fast into the corner. Not a huge incident, just tapped the back of Foster's car, just unsettled it going into the braking zone there, but not something you want to have happen when you're braking in these cars. They're hard enough to stop. You don't want to have another car.
Behind him now, sorry. Mackenzie's going to pull the slider. Foster's driven through him. Giving him one back, and that was an interesting one. Mackenzie opted to pull the slide job on the person he just rotated earlier in the race, and not a smart move from the number 3 there, and Foster, probably rightly so, just applied the bumper to the rear of the 3, and a good save from Mackenzie in the end to not go all the way around. As we see, 53 should get a run here down this front straight. Expect him to come down the inside turn 1. Will he return the serve and spin the 3 out? No, he won't.
Now, always a thing in stock car racing, of course. It's one of those things in stock car. It's a bit of a contact sport, and a little bit of door rubbing here and there is always encouraged. But you don't want to go spinning each other around. That's the bit where we sort of try and draw the line. So Edward's just trying to go down the inside there, fostering the E53, the Legacy sponsored car, or the Legacy charity sponsored car there. Just trying to get back down the inside of Mackenzie, and Boulos is pulling out a relatively good gap from the front. Josh Micklemore now has got Jason Martin all over him, looking to go down the inside of his car.
Yeah, these two are teammates. Unsure whether they're going to play the teammate game here. We tend to see a couple different strategies from the teammates, and sometimes the teammates race each other incredibly hard, and sometimes they just roll over and let each other go by. So, very interesting to see what happens between these two now. As of course, Jason Martin's got Matt Danton all over his rear bumper too, so that's going to be something they're going to have to watch out for.
Yeah, Mitch Motorsport, the team in question there with Josh Micklemore and Jason Martin, they tend to race each other very hard as Matt Danton makes the move on Jason Martin as he moves down to the inside, almost opening the door for Danton to get through there.
Pretty easy move for the number 30 of Danson, running a different livery this week. No sponsors on that car. Maybe we're seeing a official team change coming soon for the number 30. Silly season's in play. A few team changes going about. Danton changing teams maybe. Mentioned Douglas last week, maybe to Mitch Motorsports. It should be interesting to see what happens with the 30 there. Why is he running a different scheme tonight, do you reckon, Carl?
Not sure, really. I was actually looking at that earlier and it confused me a little bit. I was unsure if it was my trading paints having an issue or if it was him changing the scheme, and it looks like he has. Now running a Holden livery, of course, and yeah,
hey.
just a very different paint scheme there, and it's nice to see a slightly new paint scheme for him, although I'm sure everybody will miss the rainbows.
Back in the pack, Edward Foster's still struggling a bit. He's got a big ball of big blowtorch of pressure being applied to the back of him by Hamish Gallagher and Mirko Dortnack. Gallagher's got of course, Gallagher got that damage on the rear of his car from being involved in the same incident as Edward Foster earlier on. Dortnack's got a squeaky clean car though, so he'll be looking to keep that going as we just see what unfolds in the turn number 1. As you see, the cars are running that second lane on the track, and that's because that first lane is basically flat. Progressive banking on this track means the higher up you get, the more banking there is, of which there isn't much banking anyway, but you still want to be running, you know, up above that flat banking area, because what the banking does is it helps the car to corner higher, it keeps the car sort of glued to the track and makes downforce work a lot better, so you'll see most of the cars run a lane or two up the track at least tonight.
Yeah, and you're just saying there about the damage on some of those cars. With this track, even though it's quite a fast, small track, as Matt Danson's still trying to look on Josh Micklemore at the moment, it's slightly a smaller track, and car damage, aero damage is not as effective here as it can be on some of the other tracks.
Yeah, of course, damage can have varying degrees of effects across different cars and the different tracks, but this is one of the tracks you wouldn't mind having a bit of damage on. Of course, you do get some pretty decent speeds into the straight, so it's probably going to affect you a little bit if you get too much on the car. Unlike some of, say, Bristol, where you can pick up an absolute wrecking ball's worth of damage and still manage to drive along just fine, but Danson's just got his nose to the inside of Micklemore, but the 31's got that run off turn 4 and is able to clear him down the front straight, but he leaves the door open to the 30 to get back up the inside through his turns 1 and 2, and these two almost seem to have the same sort of pace at the moment, and Danson's unable to really execute any sort of move on him.
Yeah, both these guys are very fast. Micklemore is one of those drivers that has some extremely good pace on him usually, and it was a team that we were very worried about at the start of the season, the Mitch Motorsport boys, because it's a bit of a super team there with Micklemore, Danny G and Jason Martin, of course, and they've been running well all season, running up that sort of higher end of the grid, and Matt Danson's really putting the pressure on here, just pressing that inside line as hard as he can, as just saw it, probably just in front of you was Micklemore just getting a little bit loose there as we were watching on board with Danson, and it's coming down the inside line now, and you can just see the speed difference of these cars, the different lines, and Danson's got a really good run this time, side by side again. Micklemore's got slightly better take off the corner, and that's allowing him to just keep in front at the moment, but Danson's going to be furiously trying to get past him now, because he wants to get onto that middle line, he wants to get past Micklemore.
and you can really see from this on board the different banking throughout the corner there. The top line noticeably got more banking on the inside, but it is still very minute to see that dive back down to the inside. He's going to use a bit of that lower line there to try and shorten his radius as much as he can. It is, of course, the shortest way around the track, but Mickelmore gets that run off the corner. They're side by side down the front straight. You can see Mickelmore there powering back by him with that run. He gets off the top of the track. Jansen might want to start thinking, maybe put in a slide job there.
Mickelmore has just lost it slightly, and that's just allowed Danson to get through. They're still fighting hard, but Mickelmore and Danson both made a little bit of a mistake there mid-corner, and Mickelmore has just lost out a little bit more than Danson at the moment, but they're still neck and neck as we talk.
You can see them fighting the cars coming off turns 2 and coming off turns 4. Those bumps and the torque going through these cars are not a fantastic mix. Very easy to break loose. Right in behind these guys is Jason Martin looking for anywhere to get through. And we're on board with Martin. You can see these guys going side by side. We'll really get a good glimpse here of the two different lines taken by these guys. And Martin taking a completely different line himself. So almost 3 lanes being taken through this corner. As you see Danson sliding up almost to the middle of the corner. Both going to get the good run off the corner, but we'll see Mickelmore pull away from the 21 car of Martin down the straight. Won't clear the 30. The 30 throws it down as far to the inside as he can. And it's very interesting to watch from this perspective and see how the different lines are running from these cars and how it ebbs and flows throughout the track. Obviously, the better run coming for the high line off turns 2 and turns 4, but obviously the shorter line around the track prevails through the corners. Danson might be able to slide up in front of Mickelmore if you can just clear him mid-corner.
Yeah, one thing you have to just keep in mind though when you're running that lower line, because you're turning slightly more and you have to put a bit more lock on the car sometimes, is you can put a little bit more work through the tyres, of course, and that can sort of make your tyre wear spike up a little bit. So at the moment, Mickelmore's might be running the better line for tyre wear, and Danson might just be chewing away at his rubber a little bit quicker. And while they do this, they're just letting people like Martin and Clure and Skurlock just come up behind him. They're slowly gaining on this group. And as these two battle it out, they're just losing tiny chunks of time as they're going through this lap, which is allowing Brendan Boulos, of course, to move forward. He's now almost 3.5 seconds ahead of this fight.
Yeah, it's not the easiest track to make a pass on. Danson's going to be able to slide up in front of him. There he goes. He's got the move done on Mickelmore, but the 31's going to look back to the inside. Is he going to try and fight it? He's not. He's going to take his line back up the track again, and this might open the door for Jason Martin to get through now, because he looks to the inside of the 31 of Josh Mickelmore. Down the front straight.
Yeah, you can just see Matt Danson, he's just got a fair bit more pace at the moment than Mickelmore. Mickelmore, of course, has just got to try and get that car settled, just try and get back into his rhythm. But this is letting Martin come back to fight at him. Meanwhile, behind them, we've got Skurlock and Clure having a massive battle as well. But the main fight is between Martin and Mickelmore now.
Yep, Mickelmore is just struggling at the moment. Might be running a bit too high up the track at the moment to carry any more pace than he is. Danson, of course, running a lane or so lower, and you saw Martin running between Danson and Mickelmore in terms of lane choice when he was sat in behind them. So maybe that's what's affecting the 31 at the moment. Just a bit of a poor lane choice from his part, but maybe he's just saving those tyres as he gets loose off turns 2. That bump caught him out, and now Martin should have a good run here down to turn number 3.
Yeah, as Martin just dives down the inside, he's now got that nice inside line. He looks like he's got a little bit more pace. Mickelmore's going to have a little bit more speed on the straight, but looks like Martin's got the better run off this time, and he's slotted up in front of his teammate there. Great move by Jason Martin.
Yeah, fantastic move. Got that done a lot quicker than Matt Danson was able to get it done. And Mickelmore just starting to lose a bit of the fight he had a few laps ago. Maybe he used up his tyres a bit, who knows. Maybe he's still saving those tyres, opting not to fight that one quite as hard. And as you mentioned, Clure and Skurlock are both catching these guys as a result of this battle. And I think Mickelmore is going to come under pressure, but I think Martin's going to drive away and maybe drive to back at the 30 of down.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what pace Martin has now, because he's not really been in clear air all night. He's been sort of saddled up behind somebody else, and although it's not completely clean air now, he's got a little bit of a gap between himself and Danson, and he's now the car in the lead of that little pack. The question is going to be here, of course, is if he can actually start catching on Brendan Boulos, because he's currently just running away from it.
Yeah, well, Matt Danson actually matched Brendan Boulos last time by, and on that lap it was a 30.2 for Boulos and a 30.2 for Matt Danson again. So He's matching the leader at the moment, but unfortunately for him, he can't match him for the rest of the race if it goes green, because he'll just continue to hold that 3.5 second gap that he's got at the moment.
Yeah, it's tricky to catch, and it's tricky to gain speed on these sort of tracks, because you can feel like you're going as fast as anyone out there. You can feel like you're going faster than anyone out there, and you're suddenly 2 seconds a lap slower than them. It's such a strange track. It really catches you off guard. The walls being so close to you here, it's a very sort of enclosed track, and it just makes you feel like you're going a lot faster than you are sometimes.
Yeah, it certainly does. Edward Foster is still side by side with people. That's Dave Douglas, his teammate. Throwing it down the inside at turn 1, he gets that move done pretty easily. I think Foster might have just rolled over for him there, being teammates, of course. And that's battle for P number 14. So these two pretty far back in the pack compared to where we normally see them. They're almost at the back of the field.
Yeah, I'm just going to have a little look back at that, because I'm pretty sure he was racing with Oko Dortnak beforehand. Or maybe it was Stephen Williams. But I was wondering if there was maybe a little bit of traction loss there, because it seemed he just lost a couple of spots quite quickly. But yeah, he's struggling down there tonight. It's not going as he would have hoped, for sure.
Yeah, it's really not. It's not a fantastic race there, but Foster, I think maybe that damage might be affecting him a little bit. Taking a bit of that aero efficiency off the back of his car, which could be hurting him coming out of his corners, not giving him the grip he needs to get the power down, and that's the most important part of this track, is getting that power down. You've got pretty long straight, so you don't get the power down, you're going to be really struggling all the way down to the next corner.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, again, this track it's quite slippery out there as well, including the bumps. Trying to get that power down is very hard, especially in these cars. They've got so much torque, they've got so much power. It's almost like trying to wrestle a snake covered in oil. It's very hard to grab it, and it just constantly just falling out of your hands. Trying to get that power down is very tricky sometimes.
And Josh Mickelmore's remembered how to get that power down properly, because he's found a bit more pace again. He's now lapping approximately the same as Jason Martin in front of him, and Michael Skurlock and Matty Clute not making any more inroads on these two, but Skurlock himself is making some inroads on Matthew Clute. I dare say we'll see a battle for 5th place in the next 5 laps, maybe even sooner.
Yeah, but it should be lining up for an interesting battle here for around the 5th place mark. Those guys have got a really good little spot for them at the moment. As you go back a little bit, we've got Danny G, who is a fair bit away from the battle for 5th place now, in sort of 7th place. And there's a relatively little pack forming there between 7th and a level sort of area. They're running relatively close, but
trouble on the track. It's a car. It's James Robbie. The 41's gone around and hit the inside wall, coming off turn number 4, and the caution's out, and that will bunch everyone back up again.
And I'm sure everybody's going to be pretty happy about that, because they're going to get a pit stop in. The only person that's probably going to be a bit annoyed about it is Braden Bullis, of course, because his nice big lead is going to disappear very, very quickly.
What's happened to the 41 there? He's come out of turn 4, and right as we were talking about getting the power down, becoming quite tricky, the 41, huge slide coming off turn 4, over-corrected the car up into the outside wall, and that is ricocheted him back down the inside. He's done a good job to hold the brake and not bounce back up into the racing line, so props to the 41 for that one. He's probably going to have a fair amount of damage. He got a front-on hit and from both ends of the car, so don't expect him to be finishing this one on the lap.
No, it's going to hurt his competitive chance tonight for sure, and it's not too bad for people. Of course it's only lap 55 of 150, so we've got 95 laps to go still, and people are going to be just working out now sort of how long they can go, how well they can go on these tyres, how many more stops they need, little things like that. If we go green from here, what's the sort of cut-off point going to be for them? All of those little things are going to start going through their minds.
Can Danson jump Bulos again in the pits? It's going to be interesting as they all get their right sides changed. I don't expect anyone to take 2 tyres here. They need all the fuel they can get. Still having almost 100 laps left. Left sides for everyone there. And Bulos will get the jump over Matt Danson. Jason Martin will retain 3rd, Mickelmore 4th, and Chloe 5th. All the same, the top 5 there to come out of the pit.
Yeah, no real big changes or surprises there, which is always nice to see. We don't want to see people having issues, but this is going to allow the rest of the field to catch up now because there was such a big gap forming between the sort of packs and their little battles going on. It's going to really help those people that were sort of languishing a little bit down the road from the front runners and allow them to get back onto sort of a relatively competitive sort of strategy to try and take it to them.
Yeah, it brings them all back level, and it allows some of the guys that are struggling, maybe Edward Foster, to just take a step back and analyse what they were doing wrong. Of course, Edward Foster, he is a bit sick at the moment, I do believe, so that could be a reason why he's just hanging on in there. I know Foster did mention at some point earlier this month that he was just doing some races to make sure he was in the chase come the end of the season in case he suddenly got that spark for racing. It'll ebbs and flows sometimes. You get a horrible run of racing sometimes, and it all just feels like it's not worth it sometimes, Carl. I'm not sure whether you've experienced that yourself. I've certainly experienced it. You get a few bad races, and you're just like, what's the point? But you don't want to give up points sometimes. You just got to stay in there and make sure you're there when it matters.
That's very much motorsport, Ryan. It is one of those things. It's a half mistress that really it gives you a lot more bruises than it does give you nice memories. It's a tricky one sometimes, but when it is good, it's amazing. That's the only thing you got to say about it. When it's good, it is so good. Foster, of course, has got the chance of using drop rounds as well, and him being involved in more races along with some of the other people, people like Mafikler and Stephen Williams. Of course, they've had quite a good finishing places this season so far. They want to keep having those sort of decent spots finishes for the rest of the season so that they can drop a relatively poor round out of their season and then still be relatively competitive with the rest of the field.
Yeah, the drop rounds can change it up a bit if there's just a couple points in it, compared to someone that's been finishing 10th in every race and someone that's finished 7th in every race but had a 35th place finish at some point. Can prop that 7th place dude back up ahead of him in the championship. So drop rounds do count. They're very important, and that's why you've got to push as hard as you can in every single race. But looks like we're going to be going green this lap. The cars are stacked up. They're side by side all the way down the field. The field in the hands of Braden Boulos for not the first time today. Will we see the 0-1 get a good run? He will get a fantastic run. Goes very early. Dancer, not a fantastic restart, but he should be all right for in terms of protecting that second place as Martin gets down to the inside of his teammate, and they'll go side by side. Cloak will try to get 5th place retained from Skurlock, but he won't be able to do it. Skurlock's going to get the run off turn 2. He should do at least, and he will. He'll clear Kilo down into turn 3, but up front, Danson's looking to the inside of Braden Boulos. Can he get the move done? Side by side through the corner. It's the almost contact, door-to-door racing from the pseudo teammates, I'm going to call them, and a bit of a wheel spin means Boulos will retain position number 1.
Yeah, good restart there for Boulos, and Matt Danson's going to be much happier with that restart than he was the last one, for sure. Jason Martin's just running up there as well. He's trying his best to get onto the back of Danson before he can get away. They're all running very hard at the moment. Everyone's running very close too. Yeah,
you don't want to give up any positions when you feel the race might be going. Some of these guys might feel this race isn't going to have too many more cautions. These guys might have expected it to be an absolute caution fest up to this point, but it hasn't been, and they expect it might go green. So you've got to fight for it when you can, and at the moment that's what they're all doing. As Martin looks to the outside of Danson, that'd be an ambitious move. He could get to the outside from there, but not able to do it. Might get the run, won't get the run. It's not going to be close enough as he backs off early. Yeah, they're all quite close together at the moment, the top 5 cars.
Yeah, Martin's going to be really trying his best to get past Danson here because he just wants to be in front of him so he can control the pace. That's one of the big things on these restarts is if you can get in front of the faster car in front of you, you can then control the pace and you then give yourself a chance later on in the race itself. And Micklemore as well is going to be really egging on his teammate, trying to push him on just to get in front of Danson so they can start putting pressure on him.
Jason Martin's running a higher line through 3 and 4. He's going about a lane higher than the rest of the...
Sorry, we've got Dave Douglas just edged around. Didn't quite catch who it was, but somebody just edged Dave Douglas around. He went down onto the grass, but he's back on track now.
Douglas got loose all by himself, it looks like. Let's have a quick look at the replay. Up 3, turn 2, got the power down way too early, and round him.
And back to the front we go, and this is going to be Braden Bowlers is going to want to try and get that gap back to how it was before that yellow flag came out, and it looks like he's going to possibly manage it. He's still going very fast and setting some extremely good lap times out there.
As I was going to talk about, Martin's running a high line all the way around the track at the moment. He's just sort of almost diamonding the corner. He's entering the corner in the same area of the track as the rest of the field, but he's letting the car slide up a lot more. And what's that? Talk, Ryan, talk. What that's doing for him is it's giving him a better run off the corners. He's able to turn down, get on the throttle earlier. And that is actually a pretty decent line, but it can wear your tyres out, so you can't utilise it for too much longer.
No, so it's one of those things you have to pull the trigger fast on it, because you're going to have so much life in the tyres. You only got so many chances to do this. If you can get it done, you can look like an absolute legend. And we've got a caution flag coming out. And it looks like Dave Douglas again. Big damage on Dave's car. Just go back and see if I can catch what happened there. And
yeah,
just looks like, yeah, he's just got it sideways into the number 9, gone straight into the wall there, Douglas. He's going to be ruining that mistake for sure.
Yeah, he just overcooked it just a bit on entry. Not sure whether he wanted to go for the move of the 9 or just overcooked it and was forced down the inside. He did his best to check it up and avoid him. He just tagged the left rear of the 9. Fortunately for the 9, he kept it off the wall. No damage for his car. He'll be fine to go on. But unfortunately for Dave, he had a huge snap of oversteer the other direction as he was trying to save that and bounced the car up into that outside wall at about 70 kilometers an hour. So a bit of damage to his car. He might be alright to keep going, but he's certainly going to be competitive, not a race-winning car unless something drastic happens. And the rest of the field will dive back down pit lane and gets 4 fresh boots again.
Yeah, top of the field, tanks back up and get some fresh boots on the car. Of course, there have been some cars that have finished in relatively good spots with some damage on them in the past, but it doesn't look like, I don't think Douglas is going to manage too much with that car tonight. It's looking a little bit second-hand. And as we go into the pit stop, everybody's going to be looking at changing all 4 tyres again by the looks of it. And we'll see if anyone can actually manage to jump out before anyone else. And it looks like Matt Danson's got the jump on Boulos again. And
Boulos has had a terrible stop.
Yeah, disastrous stop for Boulos. He's dropped down to 4th, I think. 4th, I think, just behind Josh Micklemore. So Jason Martin and Josh Micklemore have both jumped him as well as Matt Danson. So a disastrous stop there for Boulos.
Oh, Skerlock's got a penalty, I think. Oh, I might be biting the bullet there. He's either got a penalty or he exited the pits behind Foster and somehow ended up ahead of him. I think that might be the case there. I think Foster has had a fantastic pit stop, but he's going to find himself right in behind Brendan.
Yeah, Foster's jumped all the way up to 5th position by the looks of things. What a stop he's had there. I wonder if he's wonder what Foster's done to get that stop so well. He has jumped right up the field, and that's the thing.
He took 2 tyres, just had a look, he pulled in way after everyone else, took 2 tyres and got some track position, so he's going to be up there now. And I can confirm that coming out of pit lane, it was, well, I would have thought it was Michael Skurlock that beat Foster out, but it was apparently Foster that beat Skurlock, so that's why those two are like that now. And Skurlock does not have a penalty. Do not fret, any Skurlock fans out there.
Yeah, giving the poor Skurlock fans a quick heart attack there. You don't want to do that, Ryan.
I just jump the gun a bit sometimes. Get on Mark Scaife, jumps the gun. He's off the track. No, he's still about a metre off the track. He's a metre on the track. Channeling my inner Mark Scaife there, I think, jumping the gun.
And so we're going to get back to green flag very shortly. It's been an interesting race so far. There's been quite a lot of developments. We're only done 70 laps now, and 81 laps remaining. What do you see happening for the rest of this race, Ryan? Do you see any sort of big events coming up that you can foresee?
Well, I'm interested to see how Evan Foster goes here from 5th place on this restart. He's not had much pace that he's shown so far on this race. He's been sort of just dwindling around in the back, and he was going absolutely nowhere off that last restart. So maybe he was saving his tyres, and that's why he's taken 2. But I'm interested to see how he goes. But I'm interested also to see whether Boulos can fight back through and how Martin's going to go now that he's restarting on that front row.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out. And speaking of somebody coming out, Graham Boland is back on the track with no, with a very damaged front end of the car, but he is back on the track. So we've now got a car resurrected from the graveyard, and only 18 cars out of this race now.
And we're back under green and dancing with a good start, as the leader almost always does in ANZCAR competition. Jason Martin's going to retain second place, but Boulos going to try and retake fourth place around the outside of Josh Mickelmore. He drives it in deep up top, and he's going to get a run off the corner, and he's going to clear Mickelmore. Fantastic restart for Boulos as Mickelmore gets loose. And now he's going to be able to threat for the 350 of Michael Skurlock as they're side by side down the pack there. Single file towards the back, but single file for the top three is Skurlock. Very wide, too wide almost, through turn 4, and Mickelmore is going to clear him now.
Yeah, not sure how Mickelmore managed to keep that car on the track. He looked like it was going to go off for sure, but he stayed on there somehow. Great job for him, but a really good start for Mickelmore, for Skurlock as well.
Yeah, Edward Foster, he is holding his own for now. He just lost a spot to Kloot, then Kloot got a bunch of wheel spin coming off turn number 2, and gifted the outside back to Foster, who's still hanging in there as they're very close to touching. Oh, they're going to touch, and Kloot edged him up the track, and there's a crash behind him as well. That's one of the Illusion cars. I think it's Mirko Dornack. It is Mirko Dornack, and it's also Norman Clark in there. There's no caution. There's no caution. He's doing 90 kilometres on the track, and we're going to stay green remarkably. An absolute mess there back in the pack as Foster's lost spots as well. He's 3 wide into turn 3.
Up the front, we've got Jason Martin going up into the wall, and that's let Braden Boulos go through. Jason Martin just running wide, hitting the wall. Very light scrape along the wall, not too big of damage for him, but that's let Braden Boulos get back up into second place.
He didn't hit the wall, he got very close to it, he just missed it, he backed it off enough, but it's all going off on this restart. And out of it at all, it's going to be Darren McKenzie that's going to be fighting for P number 6 with Matthew Kloot.
Yeah, some great driving from that restart there. We had action all across the field. Didn't know where to keep our eyes on there. Jason Martin did a fantastic job of keeping it out of that wall. It was a cigarette paper between himself and that wall for sure. Great job for him, but let's let Matt Danson just get out in front a little bit for himself. But Braden Boulos is going to want to try and claim that position back. He's been fast all night.
I'm going to go back and have a look at what happened to Mirko Dornack when off turn 4 while we were watching that battle, just a couple cars in front.
Yeah, so as...
Sorry, I just found it. I just found it as I was talking. Roger Clark got into the left rear of Mirko Dornack and sent the 62 almost around. Then Roger very calmly corrected it on his nose, and unfortunately for Dornack, he must have had a lock of right rear, and back up towards the wall he went. Someone came charging through and absolutely drilled. It was Graham A. Boland. Back on track after getting some damage, he's absolutely drilled the number 16 car who was checking up, as he should do, for a crash, and the 13 car, sorry, and that's really unlucky for Norman Clark to get involved in that. He did nothing wrong, and the multiple lap down car put him in the wall.
That is a real shame, yeah. As I said, Boland was just coming back on track after that long repair stint, and possibly just a quick cup of tea to cool the nerves after that rather strange incident we had on lap 1. Or lap 2, I think it was. But yeah, he came back on track, and unfortunate to catch Norman Clark there. So we now have 3 retirements of Norman Clark, James Roby, and Graham Boland.
I don't think Norman's retired just yet. He might get back out there, but certainly Graham A. Boland and James Roby official retirements in this race.
Yeah, we'll have to see on that one. Keep an eye on it. Hopefully Norman get back out on track, because the points are needed, of course, and it'd be good to see Norman Clark getting some good results. He had some interesting drives this season, most notably the lack of tyre change, I think, a couple of weeks back, and managed to sort of surprise us by coming up to the front of the field. But Norman Clark is always a good pedaler and very good midfield driver, very fast as well. I call him a midfield driver, but he's extremely fast.
He tried that strategy again on Monday night in the trucks, and it did not go well. He went from 1st to 16th in about 3 laps, so it works sometimes it doesn't. As we see up front, Matt Danson is doing his best to hold off Boulos. He was a tenth quicker than him last time by. Jason Martin's fallen back into the clutches of Josh Mickelmore, and Skurlock, who drove it in super deep into turn number 3. That was impressive.
Yeah, some good driving there. I was just having a look through the field, and just glancing through it, just the front of Dave Douglas's car has no front of it any longer, so there are some very battle damaged cars out there tonight. not many cars have a clean paint job as we're going through this race.
Yeah, such as NASCAR racing and stock car racing, it's very hard to keep your car completely pristine clean, and you're almost always guaranteed to come back into the garage with a bit of damage on your car, a bit of paint missing somewhere or other. And that's the case most of the guys tonight, certainly on a short track.
Yeah, one of the joys, of course, about NASCAR racing on the iRacing system is you don't have to buy a big box of donuts for your mechanics when you bring it in absolutely ruined.
Martin's opening up the gap again to Josh Mickelmore now, so he's done a decent job. 10th faster last lap, Matt Danson and Brandon Boulos still locked together in terms of lap pace. A 4:08 plays a 4:02. Danson and Boulos last time by. This time by it's going to be a 5:03 for Boulos. 5:49. Catch quarter by half a tenth of that lap. The gap closes down ever so slightly as Skurlock is looking like he might up the pace over Mickelmore. He's just closing in ever so slightly, bit by bit. A couple hundredths here, a couple hundredths there. He's driving it in quite deep into the corners, and that could be wearing out those front tyres just a little bit. If you have a look from a camera here, if you get one going, it shows both cars entering these corners. You'll notice that Mickelmore's backing off the throttle, or getting on the brakes maybe a bit less. And Skurlock's car almost appears to really throw it into the corner a bit deeper. The gap really closes up in the middle of the corner. You can see it there, but he goes quite far up the track and then angles it back down, diving the corner very hard right now. As I mentioned that Martin was doing earlier in the race.
You really get to see different drivers, different ways people drive on these tracks. Of course, you have different bonuses for different driving styles, of course, but there are a few different lines you can take on this track. It's not a single line track for sure, and it means that you do see a few different styles coming out there. People do sort of apex a little bit later than others, people that drive a little bit deeper, people that prefer a better run off the corner, people that prefer a better run mid-corner, and it starts to show when you've got battles like this between Mickelmore and Skurlock.
Foster, I said I was interested to see how he went. Restarted 5th, he's back in 10th, so not a fantastic restart for Foster, but up the front, 2/10 of a lap faster last time by Boulos. Has shut down the gap, the number 30 of Matt Danson, and again he's 10th faster on that last lap, so going to have a battle for the lead and maybe a change of position coming up shortly.
Yeah, Boulos is on an absolute mission to try and get back that first place, I think. He is not wanting to let Danson have an easy victory here, which is always what we like to see. We don't like seeing Danson run away with it too easily, of course, and that goes for every driver. As much as we love seeing him win, we do love to see a bit of competition in the field.
Danson's not faltering under pressure. He's a very good driver. As I mentioned earlier, very consistent. Not one to crack under pressure, so I don't expect him to make a mistake here. I expect they're going to probably go side by side and really have to fight for this one, of course.
Yeah, and I imagine Danson will be wanting to get a victory this race to show off his new paint scheme, to get it as maiden victory, which is sometimes a thing for a driver. They have those little superstitions of different paint schemes, and if one doesn't work quite as well as the other, they'll change them across.
Have you got any superstitions, Carl? When you eventually go racing, very rare occurrence I've noticed when you go racing, you got any superstitions you stick to?
Well, my biggest superstition is to have my lucky wheel that actually works. Unfortunately, I have a broken wheel that doesn't work, so that's my biggest one at the moment.
Yeah, a working wheel often helps, and I've found that having a wheel that works is very beneficiary to actually getting around the track. So I wish you luck in getting one going there, Carl.
It does have its uses, apparently, yes. Much like an engine in your car helps you in real racing, a working wheel for iRacing is a must. As Skurlock has, is got through on, sorry, my brain just called something. Mickelmore has just had a moment. Skurlock just lost a little bit of time, I think, between himself and Mickelmore there. So Skurlock's just dropping back a little bit.
So Mickelmore had a moment, but Skurlock lost time. I'm not quite following you there, Carl.
No, I caught it at the corner of my eye. I'm going to go back and actually have a look to see what happened there. I think I might have just caught something that didn't happen, but...
Keep watching the front, though, because Boulos is right on his bumper now. He's looking. He's smelling some blood here. He's smelling some blood off that red paint car in front of him.
Yeah, those two are getting very close,
Caution.
And we got a caution.
Where's the caution for? Who is it? Who's gone around? It's no one in the top 10. It's Mirko Dork.
Yes, it looks like Dortnack was just going around the outside. He's trying to let the lapped cars through, and he's just going around the high line at the moment and just lost the car by the looks of things, and it's just spun him around. So got himself a bit unsettled in the wall, and it spun him across the front of Matthew Clerk. Matthew Clerk just got so lucky there to avoid a wreck. Was millimetres away from hitting the side of Mirko Dortnack there. A huge moment for them.
Yeah, it looks like Mirko has a bit of steering damage as well, so I'd say that probably counted into the fact that he got into that wall. As you said, trying to stay out of the way, but a bit of steering damage is going to be very hard to gauge where that right side's going to actually end up when you try to straighten him.
Yeah, he's very tricky, and going back to that, when he got big damage like he's got on that car, it looks like as he was going along that wall, that steering damage wasn't helped. He just was bumping across the wall, and then all of a sudden he's just spun it out of nowhere. A bit of a surprise thing to happen, but very lucky for Clerk that he didn't get involved in that, and I'm sure Mirko Dortnack will be happy that didn't happen too.
I'm sure Clerk's counting his lucky stars, really. He escaped a big moment there. That would have put him in down to the inside wall as well. But cars all dive back down the lane. It seems that tyres are pretty important at this one today. I'd say that they could make it home on fuel from here.
Yes, and we'll see who can make it off the race of the pit lane again this time round. See if anyone. Don't think anyone will chance it with two tyres on this sort of stage of a stint. It's been a few laps, and off they go. And it looks like Danson's got the better run on Boulos again.
Yeah, he's retained P1. The top 5 is going to remain unchanged once again. So pretty even stops there. No big surprises that time around.
No, none at all. And with it being so close between Danson and Boulos, it's going to be a really interesting fight towards the end of this race. We've only got 59 laps to go, and it's going to be interesting to see who gets this one. At the moment, it's a race between Boulos and Danson.
It is. It's a race between Boulos and Danson, but I also think it might be a race including Jason Martin and Josh Mickelmore if they can get a good restart and hang with them. A bit of side-by-side action off the restart for these front two drivers of Danson and Boulos could lay them back into the hands of Martin and of Mickelmore, and that could allow them to make it 3 wide, get into the lead, and once you're in the lead, you can sort of control the pace and do a bit of mirror driving, do a bit of defensive driving, and do your best to hold them off. So I think those two could get involved as well at some point.
And don't forget the threat that is Michael Skurlock as well. He's been driving very well here tonight. He's had a relatively good run. He's been up in the sort of top 10 without too much trouble all sort of through this session, through qualifying as well. He's had a very fast car. So Skurlock is another one to just keep an eye out on. If somebody gets in front of this dueling pair, if Martin and Mickelmore manage to make it in front of the dueling pair and just start slowing them down a little bit, making them drive at a slightly slower pace, it could allow Skurlock to get into the battle for this action.
Yeah, well, of course, number 350 there, Michael Skurlock, very credentialed driver. He's won the ANZCAR Truck Series Championship multiple times, and he's a very consistent driver. What you'll notice is Skurlock is always there. You look in the first half a dozen cars, there's always going to be the number 350 somewhere around there. He's very consistent, always keeps his car clean, does what he can to stay there at the end, and often picks up a few spots from the others' mistakes as Danson and Boulos getting very close together there, side by side on this caution.
Just wanting to have a look at each other's paint schemes there, obviously. Boulos wanting to check out Danson's newest paint scheme. Just a big fan of it, obviously.
Well, they are, I believe, as Ashton Crowder would put it last time out in the Cup Series, technically teammates, but technically not teammates. And as Danson would put it, we're teammates. Boulos part of the Silton Crowder faculty, as is Danson and Crowder, obviously. He's got his name on that team name, so I'm sure they'll be playing nice, but also be a bit of an intra-technically team rivalry here. As Carl about to go green again.
So running back around for the green flag now, so we'll see if Danson can get a good jump again. And he's got a relatively good restart this time round. Not the same problems that was sort of forcing him last time out. Looks like everything's gone well for Danson. We've got a bit of an incident back at the back. We've got, looks like Foster and Mackenzie, I think it was. Darren McKenzie and Foster just into each other again. Managed to keep the cars going forward, though, so a big moment there, but everybody managed to keep it going relatively straight, so good job for them. And we've got Brendan Boulos now coming up behind Matt Danson, trying to make a move if he can. He's going to want to try and get past him quite early on.
Yeah, I think Foster drove through Mackenzie there on purpose. Bit of retaliation for early on. Fair play to him. He had to check up to avoid someone else, I believe, did Darren Mackenzie, and as a result, slid up the track and right into the path of his old rival there in Edward Foster. So, fair play. Serve returned, and now the battle resumes with P3 up front. Martin running up high line. Clowett has
Oh,
taken
and
fifth
just to
place
stop
back.
you, we've got Foster going round. Mackenzie just went to just pay him back for that, and that spun Foster around in the middle of the field. And quite a few drivers had to slow down to almost a stop for that one because Foster went right round in front of them.
Yeah, look, that is... Yeah... It's a tough one sometimes, stock car racing. Everyone loves to return the serve every now and then. Bit of beating and banging. We do like a bit of beating and banging, but when Mackenzie gets into Foster, Foster gets back into Mackenzie, it's done, it's dusted. And what Mackenzie's done there is he's overdriven the corner intentionally. He was never going to make that corner. Gone by Douglas to get it done, up into the side of Foster. And spun them both around in an effective number of races there. Douglas, a bit of nose-to-tail contact with Hamish Gallagher as well, and it looked like someone else got up into Mackenzie towards the end, or someone got into the pit wall. It was the pink car of Tristan Koch that drove into the end of the pit wall, trying to avoid all of that, so that's unlucky for him. But yeah, bit of poor sportsmanship there from Mackenzie, I would say.
Yeah, poor Tristan Koch is not having a good night tonight. He has been. I don't think he's really been involved in anyone's major incident other than other people. But this has allowed a few people to come into the pit lane. Most importantly, Matt Danson, Braden Boulos, but Jason Martin has stayed out.
As has Edward Foster and Norman Clark, who is a lap down anyway. Clark is 9 laps down. But yeah, Edward Foster, Jason Martin, both stay out. 2 laps on these tyres, I do believe, so I don't think it'll have too much of an effect. But those fresh tyres will give these other guys a bit of an edge that they might need to get this done.
Well, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if those fresh tyres are going to make a big difference at this restart. With only 53 laps to go, with only 2 laps of tyre life, 2 laps between those tyres, it's not a huge difference between them. Of course, fresher tyres are always going to be better at the end of the day, but it could be a really good move here for Jason Martin. This could possibly be a fantastic move for him. The other thing it's going to do is it is going to mean that both Danson and Boulos are now stuck behind another 2 cars. It's going to allow people to have an attack on them. It's going to allow people to possibly pass them. And on my timing screen, it looks like Josh Micklemore might have got past Danson, possibly.
Yeah, it looks like he has indeed got past Matt Danson. He's jumped Danson and he's jumped Brandon Brillos. So good move there from the 31 of the pits to get them. And that will now give him an opportunity. And like I said, we now see the 2 dominant cars of this race, Matt Danton and Brandon Brillos, restarting from P4 and P5. So it's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out.
And another thing this is going to do, of course, is with Josh Micklemore starting in 3rd place and Jason Martin starting 1st, it means those mixed motorsport cars are on the same side of the track as each other. So Matt Danson's going to have to try and get past Foster as well. And that's going to really put him slightly out of position. As well as Braden Boulos, who's going to be starting behind Micklemore. So it's going to be an interesting restart here.
It certainly is. They're going to get the restart, the green flag this time by, I do believe, lights are out on the pace car. Are they? Yes, they are. My eyes not deceive me. They're out the pace car. We're going to go green this time by. I'm interested to see how these restarts go. The later we get in this race, the more aggressive drivers are going to get, and I do believe we could see some 3-wide action on one of these restarts, because at some stage you've got to be aggressive, you've got to get the move done, and you can't afford to sit single file behind someone for too much.
No, but the big thing is this track going to support 3 wide?
It's wide enough for 3 wide, it's wide enough for 5 wide, just whether it actually works is a completely different story. Now we're going to see the case car peel off down off turn number 4, looking for the green flag to go racing with 51 laps to go here at the Magic Mile. Jason Martin goes for it, and Edward Foster has not got a good restart. Micklemore's gone with him. Danton and Boulos, both excellent restarts in behind them, looking to take them 3 wide. Can they? Maybe no. As Foster tries to get back around the outside of Micklemore, Boulos looks to the inside of the 31, but can't get through there. And Micklemore will take P2 away from the 53 as Danton almost tries to make it 3 wide down the back straight, but that door was very quickly diminishing and quite wisely backed out of it as they all constantly ran up and behind them now.
And this has been a great restart for Jason Martin, but Josh Micklemore had a really big trousers moment going through turn number 2. I think it was. His car just got really loose for a couple of moments, but he managed to hold on to it and keep it pointing straight. So this has been a really good start for the Mitch Motorsport boys. And another guy that's having a relatively good restart is Matthew Clert as well. He's just out behind, just past Edward Foster now, and that's going to allow Skurlock as well. Skurlock tries to make it free wide. They don't end up going for it, but Skurlock's now down below Foster. And and big contact for Foster and Skurlock there, and a lot of cars involved in that. I think Danny G just got caught up in that as well. A few cars got caught in that. Looks like possibly a big moment of possibly oversteer or something for one of the cars there for Skurlock, I think. And just got caught up in that one. So a huge moment there on that restart. Well, a few laps into that restart.
That was a bout of oversteer for Edward Foster up on the outside of the 350 of Michael Skurlock, who was minding his own business down there, leaving plenty of room for the 53. Unfortunately, an oversteer sent him into the right rear of Michael Skurlock, sent the both up into the outside while Danny G checked up pretty hard. Only a little bit of damage to his car. He should be right to keep going. Did a good job to miss most of that. Hamish Gallagher just squeaked through on the inside, and everyone else squeaked by on the outside. So that's probably race done for Edward Foster, I'd say, and maybe even Michael Skurlock.
Yeah, real shame there for Skurlock. Yeah, just watching it over again, the car just got really loose on the exit of turn number 4, and Foster tried to correct it, and then just unfortunately went round on that one. So a real shame there. But relatively good thing to happen for Jason Martin and Josh Micklemore, because now they're only first and second, so they're not going to be too disappointed with that. The Walking Dead that is Dave Douglas is up there in 8th place now, in a car that looks like it should be pretty much on the scrap heap.
And we see Martin stay out again. Micklemore this time opts to stay out, as does Matthew Clowett. But Braden Boulos, Matt Danson, Danny G, Hamish Gallagher, Dave Douglas all dive into the lane with a couple more behind them. So we're going to see a mixed bag here. There's the mixed bag, my bad. There's a few guys that have stayed out. You know, Jason Martin, Micklemore, Clowett, McKenzie stayed out. He's up there in P number 3 now. Dortonak's out there. He's 3 laps down, so don't worry about him. But Michael Ladder, he's gained up there as well. So that's going to be an interesting restart, this one, with a few guys staying out. As Dave Douglas has taken 2 tyres in the lane, and he's actually going to come out ahead of Braden Boulos and Matt Danson.
Yeah, Dave Douglas there in the ultralight version of this Cup car, the new lightweight variant. It also has great air conditioning and great cooling for the engine, I hear, as well. So he's going to be really happy about that position. Odd thing to see. I do wonder if maybe this is a bit of a mistake for Danson and Boulos, just coming in again for these tyres. Is it going to pay off for them? There's 46 laps remaining here, but they've got to get through a lot of cars right now. They've got to get past a fair few cars. This is going to give Jason Martin and Josh Micklemore the chance to possibly pull out a lead as well. This could be the opportunity for a race win going for them.
Well, they're there. Talk. Struggling tonight. Well, what normally happens when someone dives into the pit lane a couple cars behind the leader is the rest of the field will follow them through, and that's what I think Boulos and Danson were hoping was going to happen. Unfortunately for them, only a few cars followed them in. And they've now got 6 cars to pass, if you include Douglas, who pitted and took 2 tyres instead of 4 to get to Libba's race. Martin, though, is the interesting one here. He hasn't pitted now for 2 caution periods. Everyone else has pitted at least once within the last 2 cautions, so Martin's the odd one out here. He's going to really struggle, I think.
Yeah, his tyres are now 14.5 laps old compared to that of Micklemore, who's on 9 laps of tyres as we speak. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. As we go around again for just the remainder of these pace laps. So Martin's going to be the interesting one here. He's kind of the odd one out on strategy now. He's the person that's been out there the longest on tyres. So we're going to see if those tyres do start dropping off a cliff, Martin's going to be the one that's going to start feeling it first. But the thing that he has now is a clean line to race on. He has nobody in front of him. If he manages to race on the line that he wants to, he's going to be able to look after those tyres a little bit, and it could possibly work out quite well for him.
Yeah, it should be interesting. I'm generally curious as well how the fuel situation is for Martin. Of course, not pitting those 2 caution periods, I don't think that'll affect him quite as much in terms of tyre wear. bit feel. I don't quite know what the fuel number is for this track. I don't know if you know either, Carl, but it could be a case that Martin's not got enough fuel, but those guys behind.
Well, he'll only run about 50, 60 laps on this, so I think they've got about 60 laps in their tank, so I think he should be okay for fuel. Especially with these caution periods, of course, you use a bit less fuel in these periods, so I think he should be okay. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. We will soon know, though. As we go back to green flag racing, Martin gets a great restart there. Danson has got a beautiful restart on the outside there. Cluett is sitting in third with Josh Micklemore in second. As they all come round, they're just looking to try and go 3 wide with Cluett, Micklemore and Danson. They think slightly better of it, but a great restart there. Danson was right on it.
Yeah, great restart for Danson. He timed that well. It's something he's done a few times in the recent past that I have noticed, as we see behind him. Very close together, and a big snap of oversteer there. But Darren McKenzie does well to avoid Braden Burkhoff. That would have been disastrous for the Silver Rider driver there. As now Douglas is going to try and get around to the outside of McKenzie as they go through turns 1 and 2. The top 5 all single file with the exception of Cloud and Danson as McKenzie cops a whack. Can he save it? Yes, he can. McKenzie's gone backwards really fast here.
Yeah, he just looked like he just caught the side of Douglas's car there. Was running up the track a little bit. Douglas seemed to be sort of holding his line. You don't go into Douglas's car at the moment because that thing is pretty much nothing but chassis left, so there's nothing really to damage on that thing.
We'll watch Danson and Clout, but I will mention that Edward Foster is now the next car behind Darren McKenzie, so we'll see another chapter in that one, as Matthew Clout is doing well to hang on here around the outside of Matt Danson. He's got the older tyres, Matt Danson's got the fresh tyres, but he's doing enough right now, and Braden Burkhoff cannot find a way past them.
No, great job, and Clout's really holding that outside line well. Oh, a big snap oversteer moment for him, and he's just going to drop off a little bit. That's going to let Boulos just get down the inside of him. Will Boulos make the pass now on Clout? And it looks like he does. It looks like Boulos has just got in front of Clout there. That big moment of oversteer just cost him slightly. But a good restart from these guys. But Jason Martin is trying his best to streak off in front of them. This is where Danson's fresh tyres are going to come to pay off the dividends.
Yeah, he's going to get down to the inside of Josh Micklemore relatively easy there. He's going to be able to almost keep his eyes up there down to the turn number 1. Micklemore's going to leave him in the room though, and Danson's going to throw it back up the inside, keep it off that flat area down to the first lane of the track there, and try and squeeze Micklemore up into the wall, crowd him out there, and he should get this move done, I would say probably next time they go through turns 1.
Yeah, a lot of people are really struggling out there by the looks of things. A lot of people are having big moments of oversteer just going through these corners. I just saw Hamish Gallagher have a moment at the back of the pit, sort of behind this pack, sorry. But remember we saw earlier in this race, Danson and Micklemore just running side by side so well together, just struggling to pass each other. I wonder if we're going to see a little bit of that here as...
Oh no! Boulos goes around contact with Micklemore. Caution comes out, and it was right after. Danson had in fact cleared Micklemore as I predicted through 1 and 2. Micklemore got a snap of oversteer right as Boulos came alongside him, and around went the 0-1, but no damage to his car. He'll be good to go, but he's got a lot of work on his hands now.
So the big question is now, do we see Jason Martin dive into the pits, and will we see Matt Danson stay out?
I think we'll see the whole field come down to the pits here, give themselves fresh rubber for the restart, which will be with about 33 laps to go, I would say, around about there. So I think we'll see the whole field come in here. Maybe 1 or 2 people will throw the dice.
Yeah, a few people that might look at throwing the dice, people like Hamish Gallagher, Stephen Williams, for instance, they've not had much on this run of tyres. So it'll be interesting to see if any of them stay out. Michael Skurlock as well, he's on relatively fresh tyres as well.
Well, we're going to find out now. Pit lane is open. The green light is on at the entry of pit lane. Martin comes down. Danson comes with him. And they do all come down to pit lane. Hey, I've made 2 good predictions in the space of 2 minutes. I'm on a roll. You've done well there.
But as everybody's coming down, which is probably the best move. Jason Martin has just played this beautifully, though. It's paid off for him with that late caution there, because it's just given him that opportunity to pit, well, 2 less times than Boulos and Danson.
Yeah, exactly, and that's probably the strategy that Martin was angling for, was to get a run just long enough to bring everyone back down, but not quite long enough to make him lose the lead. He will just retain it from Matt Danson. It will be Matthew Clout that is third out of the lane.
Yeah, a good stop there for Jason Martin. Sometimes, of course, the Jason Martin curse can hit pit stops. It looks like everything went perfectly for that stop for him. Few people that have sort of gained some positions around that stop that I can see. Hamish Gallagher's got a really good jump actually on a few cars and has worked his way up to fourth from what I can see. So a really good stop there for Hamish Gallagher.
Well, Matt Danson has actually been scored ahead of Jason Martin now. I can tell you for a fact that Martin was 100% ahead of Matt Danson at the control line, but apparently iRacing has decided that Matt Danson will take the provisional lead of the race away from Jason Martin now. Thank you, iRacing.
In a night of strange iRacing happenings, yes, it's been one of those nights. I think this track is it's going to be a bit of a cursed track for a few people.
Mirko Dortonak's still running around out there, but he is 2 laps down, so he'll get one of those laps back this time by. He's already got one of those laps back. He was 3 laps down, he's now 2 laps down, so if he can do this 2 more times, he'll be back on the lead lap, back in with a shout with the number 62 car, but a long way to go till that happens.
That's the thing, you never give up in oval racing because the strangest things can happen. You can be a couple of laps down and all of a sudden you can win it from nowhere. Norman Clark has indeed repaired his car and come back to the track, so we have 17 cars running out there, so James Robbie and Graham Bowlin are the only retirements so far.
2 more laps to go back to green. What are you expecting, Carl?
Well, I don't even know what to expect right now. With this race, with all the things that have happened so far, it's hard to call anything. But I do expect Jason Martin to really put his foot down and try and get in front of Danson, because I think that's going to be his only opportunity for winning this race now. He's got to put the pressure on Danson, he's got to get in front of him. We've got some relatively sort of newcomers up the field a bit as well, and Matthew Claude as well, who's going to be hungry for a victory. He's going to really want to try and get that win under his belt for this season too. So he's up there in 3rd place. So again, he's somebody to look out for. Could we see Gallagher trying to go up the inside, trying to make a lunge and put himself up into position as well? It's going to be interesting to see what actually happens with all of this. A few drivers that have sort of worked their way up the field as well as Hamish Gallagher and Matthew Clerk. Got Stephen Williams, Darren McKenzie and Dave Douglas in 7, 8, 9, and 10th Roger Clark as well, who's sort of made some relatively good...
We are back green. It was 1 lap to go, as it turns out. Sorry to cut you off there, Carl, but Matt Danson's retaken the lead of the race from Jason Martin. Clement will retain 3rd place, and Gallagher's trying to get it down around the outside of Josh Mickelmore for P number 4, but Mickelmore's going to have the better runners behind them. Someone crashes down to the inside, into the inside wall, and will it bring out a caution? It is Stephen Williams, the 98 car. He's stopped on the inside of the track. Apparently, iRacing has decided no caution shall be thrown for a stationary car on the track, and he will slowly get his way going again, so we'll stay green.
And that's what we want to see. We want to see green flag racing. There was no cars near him, so obviously no trouble there. So we'll go with it. We'll happily have a green flag scenario as they all battle away around. Danny G's actually working his way up the field. He's up behind Hamish Gallagher as it sits, who's just out behind Josh Mickelmore, Danny G's teammate. Matthew Clerk just got a very good restart as well, keeping himself in 3rd position. Matt Danson, of course, has made that decent lead. He's made a heck of a lot of time on Jason Martin already, and he is just flooring it now. The fastest car out on the track by some margin. He is really putting in some pace.
Yeah, they're all single file. Braden Boulos.
Ooh, and Matt Danson just had a huge moment of oversteer there going through turn number 2, and that's just going to allow Jason Martin to come up behind him.
Yeah, Braden Boulos, watch your hint come through the pack. You just made a move from Dave Douglas. You should get Roger Clark down into turn number 1 and 2 this time by, and he has got a run, so he should do that. We've got Jason Martin, not close enough to Matt Danson that time by. How quickly can Boulos make his way through the pack? He can't get it done. And that shows how hard it is to pass in New Hampshire. Someone like Braden Boulos, such a dominant car, cannot get the move done, and Roger Clark there through 1 and 2.
Yeah, well, Brendan Bullis has had pretty much the fastest car through this race, and you can just see how much slower he is in that pack. Being out front really does help you quite a lot. So it's going to be pretty hard for him to work his way up the field now. There are a lot of cars between him and 1st place. So it'll be interesting to see if he can manage to claw his way back up there. Jason Martin just trying to take a slightly tighter line on the exit, trying to get towards Danson's pace now. Danson had that slight moment of snap oversteer, but managed to catch it and keep himself out in 1st place.
Yeah, he's doing what he needs to at the moment. Is Matt Denson, as Boulos will get the move done on Roger Clark through 3 and 4. And now he's going to set aside on Darren McKenzie, who's been in the wars tonight. He's doing well to hold on at the moment to P number 7 is McKenzie. I dare say he's going to be P8 in not too long as Boulos raised up under the back of the...
Just behind Boulos with a beautiful move by Michael Scarlett just down on Dave Douglas. He just sent a torpedo up the inside, just got straight through on Douglas. And that means Douglas has fallen back to 11th place with his teammate Edward Foster. Skurlock is going to be another person that's going to want to try and climb his way back up the field. He was running relatively well up there in the top 5.
Yeah, I think Douglas, much like his RCD teammate Edward Foster, is suffering from a loss of downforce and a big grip at the moment, and that's affecting his car speed quite substantially. Edward Foster's a long way off the pace, as we see Boulos down to the inside of Darren McKenzie through 3 and 4. Trying to keep it off that flat area down to the inside. Can't get the move done this time by. Don't drift up with the left rear of McKenzie unless you want to crash out of his race. Does a good job not to, but McKenzie sends it up the inside of Gallagher, slides up in front of him, out of control for the number 3 car, slots in somehow between Danny G and Hamish Gallagher, and they all keep going on as they were, but McKenzie will fall now behind Braden Boulos.
Great driving there from Gallagher, just managing to avoid that incident because he had a very sliding McKenzie going between himself and Boulos. Very, very slick move from Gallagher to not have an incident.
Yeah, I think McKenzie's either got his brake bar set too far to the rear, or he's used a bit too much brake pressure. He's pinching those rear brakes quite a bit in this race, and that is the result of pinching those rear brakes. The car just slides straight through the corner as Boulos now picks up a spot in Hamish.
Yeah, it's never fun to drive a race car that has the rear wanting to overtake the front end like that. And it's so easy to do, is if you just tap the brake a bit too hard, it will just lock up, and you've got to let off straight away and just try and get the car rotating again. He did a good job to manage not to go into the wall, but yeah, that could have been a big one.
Certainly could have been. Matt Danson holding on for now from Jason Martin, 200ths of a second quicker the last time by. There's nothing in it. There's nothing in it for battle for 3rd place either. Matthew Clowett trying to hold off the 31 of Josh Mickelmore, who gets really close to the wall, gone off turn number 4. And there's a two-way battle for P number 5 as well. Danny G trying to fend off Braden Boulos. Probably a fruitless task, that one, but we'll see how he goes.
Yeah, Braden Boulos just getting down the inside of Danny G now, and Braden Boulos has looked like he's managed to hold that inner line quite well this session. So Danny G is just going to try and hold that mid-line, try and keep Boulos away, but Boulos has got down the inside. Danny G is going to have the slight better run out the corner, but we're going to see them just belting off here side by side, and just ahead is still Danny G.
Yeah, the side-by-side for 3rd, the side-by-side for 5th. Mickelmore's taken 3rd place away from Matthew Clowett, but Clowett's hanging on in there, around the outside, down the back straight, as is Danny G on Braden Boulos, trying to watch 4 cars at once here, and they're not that close together, quite difficult at the moment, but Boulos sends it up into turn number 3, gets ahead of Danny G, who tries the cutback, switchback manoeuvre, great stuff there from Danny G, but he can't quite get the run of Boulos. P number 5, the recovery drive continues as Clowett's still on the outside of Mickelmore, still holding on for now.
Yeah, great battle between these guys at the moment. These cars. Oh, a big moment there for Josh Mickelmore again. Snap oversteer just coming through turn number 2. It looks like that section of track is just surprisingly grippy for a moment and then loses it all of a sudden. But he's managed to keep it, and he's managed to keep the fight with Clowett still.
Yeah, and Mickelmore so close to the back of Clowett, so close to the wall there with the right-hand side of the car. He's absolutely wringing everything out of this 31 Mitch Motorsports machine at the moment. But that M554 car doing exactly what he needs to do, running higher lines up the track, getting the run down the straight, doing enough to hold him off for now.
Yeah, good job for them. And yeah, some good racing there. And we've got some good racing still as the battle between Clowett and Mickelmore does not seem to be wanting to really sort of hold itself up. And they're really battling for it as we speak.
We're on board with Josh Mickelmore. You can see just how close he's getting to the back of the 54, down that front straight, down to the inside through 1 and 2. Oh, snap oversteer for him again. He does a good job to save it, does Mickelmore, but he's going to fall back in behind the 54 of Clowett now.
And we've just had a bit of an incident. Michael Skurlock is just off the track. He was just trying to get past Roger Clark there, and I think he just went a little bit deep in the corner, has just gone onto the grass. but we have remained green.
The battle for the lead is holding up once again. Jason Martin is harassing the back of that 30. That Holden liveried red and white car with a bit of a checkered flag pattern on the left rear, which we can see from Jason Martin's car. Can he get the move done? What is he going to do? We saw last year in the NASCAR race at New Hampshire with about 17 laps to go, Kevin Harvick put the bumper to the back of the 18 after running him down, moved him out of the way, got the move done and ran away for the race win. There's 16 laps, there's 17 laps to go, there's 18 laps to go just now. Will we see a similar scenario next time by?
Well, speaking of putting their bumpers on each other, Josh Mickelmore is running his bumper as close as he can to Claude at the moment. Those two are running very, very close to each other. Really good battle there, but we've got Jason Martin now putting the bumper towards Matt Danson as well. They're running as close as can be at the moment.
Yep, I'm not sure who to watch at the moment. Boulos is in this battle for P number 3 as well as Danson and Mickelmore separate themselves out at half a car length. There's Boulos down the inside of Mickelmore and Cluett, 3 wide almost through turns 1 and 2. Boulos on the very inside of the track, can't get it done. He's going to be side by side with Matthew Cluett, who's lost the spot now to Josh Mickelmore well and truly. Sends it in deep, just misses the back of Mickelmore. That was very close, just a hair in it. That was almost contact. It was almost a spinning English Motorsports car there, but Boulos will now complete the move on Matthew Cluett as well.
Yeah, Cluett there just lost 2 positions on that lap, but he could so easily gain them back. Those cars are running so close to each other. While this is all going on, it's just letting their the Mitch Motorsport teammate of Danny G just get back towards them as we get a back marker just in front of Matt Danson, just causing him just to slow slightly and just allowing Jason Martin to get back on the rear of Danson. But it's really starting to heat up here.
Yeah, it certainly is heading up the moment. Mickelmore not wanting to have a dive from the inside of the 01 car through 1 and 2. It was certainly close enough. He's all over his back bumper still, not letting him drive away. Clement's just falling off ever so slightly, about 3 car lengths back now. There's a head down the back straightaway, but it's still Boulos holding off Mickelmore for P number 3. Can he drive away? Has he used up his tyres? Could be his move.
Yeah, that's the big question now, is how much tyre life do these guys have left in their car? But Braden Boulos has looked to have a very fast car all night. I think he's still got a little bit left in reserve. So he might still have a bit left, but I don't think he's got enough to catch up to these front runners of Jason Martin and Matt Danson.
Yeah, it's probably too much for tall order now, unless there's contact between these top 2 guys, or a caution comes out, which is very likely on a short track. We got 14 laps to go. They come across the line here. The gap between the leaders, 2.5 tenths of a second.
And nothing between these guys up the front. As the battles go on through the field, just trying to have a look to see if anything else is going on. Hard to really say as you talk, but it looks like everything's starting to settle out a little bit down the field. Not much going on up down the other end of the track, so we'll keep our eyes on the front.
Trying to figure out what Jason Martin can do to get by Matt Danson. He's got to try something different here. Bit of a Hail Mary up the inside maybe on the last lap of the race might be his only option if he can't get any closer than this. Yeah, he's got to chip away slowly. He's got just enough time to chip away slowly and still get there with about a couple laps to spare as he runs a slightly different line through 3 and 4, trying everything he can right now to get closer to the 30 of Matt Danson.
Yeah, he's going to have to try lots of different lines, try some different approaches, things like that, because there are no lap cars coming up too quickly in front of these guys, which is something that Jason Martin will be ruining, I'm sure, because it would have helped him a little bit just having to have a few cars in front of Danson to have to pass. So he's going to have to try everything he can. He's just going to have to be faster than Matt Danson, and that's never an easy task.
No, it's not. Martin's traditionally been very good on his tyres, but I don't think this run's going to be quite long enough for that to come into play here, as Matt Danson is starting to edge that gap open just bit by bit. He's about a tenth quicker than him last time by, so maybe Martin's just sitting back and just trying to cool everything off, cool the car off, bring the temps back to normal, then be way back in for another attack with just a couple laps to go.
Yeah, we're now just on our 9th lap. Sorry, 9 laps to go now, just under 9 laps to go as we come across the line. And it's going to have to be a bit of a Hail Mary move for Jason Martin to really do anything to Matt Danson.
Here again, the gap between the two of them that time by out to 3.38 tenths of a second. So it's opened up by 1/10.5 since the last time we talked about that, and it's been 2 laps since that happened. So I think Danson, barring a mistake, might be in for this win here. I shouldn't have said that, but I've said it anyway. We'll see how they go here. With just 8 laps to go as they come across the line. Martin still not getting anywhere closer. Boulos has opened up the gap comfortably to Josh Mickelmore. Matthew Clowett, a few car lengths behind him, and Danny G trying to close up to Matthew Clowett, getting there closer, but not by enough. And there's really no battles going on throughout the track other than these guys separated by a couple of car lengths.
Yeah, everybody's started to make a little bit of room for each other. There's sort of everything's eased up a little bit. The craziness of earlier on has disappeared, but as we've seen, you can always hit a landmine on this track apparently. So it's not over until it's over. So Matt Danson has got that lead, and he's just pulling away a little bit from Jason Martin now. He's just falling a little bit behind. Brain Bullis is trying his best to catch up to these two cars, trying to get up to second place, but I don't think he is going to manage it unless something very, very strange happens.
Well, generally anything can and probably will happen in motorsport, and in iRacing, in a simulated motorsport, we quite literally mean anything could happen, such as hitting a landmine on the track. So yeah, it's not over till it's over. He's still going to drive perfectly for these last 6 laps. Such is the pace of these two drivers. A bit of a slip up, they're driving on the edge. A bit of a slip up will cost them dearly.
So as we come round, it's going to be 5 laps to go on this pass, and it's all looking good for Danson now. And I won't say the W word, just in case anything bad happens.
Winner!
Things are looking quite good for him at the moment. Just behind him, of course, the battle for second, third, fourth and fifth has really evened out quite a lot. And there's not really much happening other than Roger Clark and Darren McKenzie having a little bit of a battle for P9 and 10.
Been a tough day for Darren McKenzie in that 3 car. He's been in the wars, he's been sliding all over the job. He's struggled a bit with his track, but he's going to get a top 10 from it. And we're barring a mistake here. Even if he loses a spot to Roger Clark, he'll still be in P number 10, which is the best he could probably ask for. It's just behind him. As Michael Scott up into the wall through 3 and 4, loses the spot. Well, he won't lose the spot, but he'll lose track position to Stephen Williams and locking out to spin and bring out a caution, which would have been disaster for the top 2.
Yeah, Scullock's race has really dropped off a cliff there. It's a strange one for Scullock. He was doing very well earlier on in this race towards the end section. Couple of people that have done well.
4 cars, sorry Carl, there's 4 cars right in front of these leaders. I think they're going to get there. That could make things a bit interesting.
Yeah, we're getting very close to those guys. We'll see if it happens. There's 2.5 laps to go, so if anything's going to happen, it's going to happen now. And Jason Martin is gaining on Matt Danson.
Yeah, they're going to get to Tristan Koch into turn 1 and 2 this time by down the main straight. For Dancy, he's going to catch him at a bit of an awkward time. Can't open up the corner like he wants to. Right in behind Mirka Dornack as well, and Norman Clark and Michael Ladder are in there too. They're battling for position. No, they're not. None of these guys are battling for position, but you get laps cars in the way. It takes the air off the front of the car, just unsettles you a bit if you catch them in the wrong spot. But at the moment, Danson navigating them perfectly. Gonna come around turn 4 for the penultimate time today. In behind Norman Clark, he almost got into the back of him. But 1 lap to go, white flag and magic mile.
Yeah, it's been a magical race so far. The track has done very well for us. A really interesting race, and it's been an interesting race for a few people. I just got to mention Dave Douglas, who's managed to gain 8 places, up into P8 at the moment. His car looking very second-hand, but he is up there. As Jason Martin comes up, he's trying for that last-minute lunge as best as he can. As we come around for the final time, we're going to go across the start-finish line. Checkered flag is going to wave.
Matt Danson, your race winner at the Hampshire Motor Speedway for the ANZCAR E53 Cup Series. A well-driven race. Danson, he came through the field a couple times tonight after a pit strategy. Went a bit wrong for him and he lost some track position. But in the end, all is good for Matt Danson in the number 30. A win on debut for the new paint scheme. Jason Martin comes home in 2nd place. Boulos home in 3rd after that unfortunate incident with Josh Mickelmore earlier on. Mickelmore himself comes home in 4th place, and it's Danny G that takes 5th place, Chloe 6th, Gallagher 7th, Douglas in the wars earlier on this one takes 8th place. Roger Clark did in fact get by Darren McKenzie, and he finishes 9th. McKenzie in 10th, and rounding out the field there, Michael Skurlock, Edward Foster, who had a disastrous race by his standards, Michael Ladder, Tristan Koch, Mirko Dortnack, Stephen Williams, Norman Clark, James Robbie, and Graham A. Boland, who hit that landmine on lap 2.
Yeah, fantastic race there for Matt Danson. He's going to be absolutely thrilled with that, I am sure, especially for debuting the paint scheme and getting a win for it. Flying the Holden colours proud.
Yeah, pretty good win for him there. He was the second fastest car, or fastest car all race long. Not too much competition really, except for Braden Boulos. And when Boulos was taken out almost, not intentionally of course, but when Boulos was unfortunately involved in Mickelmore's accident, it just opened the door for Matt Danson to come through and win that race. Jason Martin did what he could at the end, but he couldn't quite get there.
Yes, and Matt Danson did in fact get the fastest lap at the end of that race as well. So the fastest car out there, absolutely. Brilliant job for him. So as we wait for the drivers to file into the green room shortly, we will just look back a little bit on that race. Really weird start there for the race start, Ryan.
I'll be honest, Carl, I didn't hear what you said then.
A very strange start to this race, with Graham Boland getting the strange landmine hit early on in this race.
Yeah, a couple of unusual events throughout this race. A couple of times, I think Irison decided that the second car to cross the control line at the exit of pit lane was going to be the car that started the next green flag run ahead. But of course, that lane mine as well. Graham A. Boland, not quite sure what happened there. Maybe a result of the fact of him being an American. A bit of netcode incident, maybe as well. And of course, a lot of cars going a bit loose on this track. Very difficult to get the power down all race long. A lot of people struggled, and we saw, of course, that back and forth grudge fest between McKenzie and Foster, which was interesting to say the least. But up in the green room, you've got Matt Danson waiting and ready, celebrating his win. Why don't you drag him down? I'll let you handle this one, Carl.
Matt Danson, Carl Wither here, Performance E Streaming. How are you going? And congratulations on that victory.
Hey boys. Yeah, good. Thanks. It was a really fun race.
Yeah, but noticed you've got a new paint scheme out there today.
Yeah, I'm sort of giving it a new one each time just for a bit of funsies. Obviously the barnyard is my my go-to, you know, with the rainbow and the animals and all that sort of fun stuff. But just threw back to you know, HRT, Max Scaife, that sort of thing tonight, just for a bit of fun.
Yeah, well, nice to see some different colours up on the car for sure. How was that race for you, Matt?
Yeah, it was good. I felt like I had good pace. I was pretty confident to start with. Braden was super quick, but I was feeling good in the middle run. And you know, I again he sort of had pace on me just before that yellow, but I also at the same time sort of felt confident I could hold him back potentially, at least for a little while. And then at the end, it was kind of just once, unfortunately, Braden had a bit of trouble. It was just about trying to, you know, manage it and just make sure the tyres lasted all the way.
Yeah, well, you seem to manage pretty well out there. One thing I did want to actually ask you about was on I think it was the second restart or the third restart, it looked like you had a bit of trouble getting the car away.
I had a lot of trouble. For some reason, it got stuck in neutral. Like I went to shift to fourth, and it just dropped straight into neutral, and I couldn't get it out. I was doing everything I could, and it was stuck. And so I was just trying not to get run over, and eventually got myself you know, reset and off.
Well, it was good to see you getting reset because, yeah, it was a scary moment. Did honestly think that maybe somebody was going to go into you, so it was good to see none of that actually happened. So another good win for you, and things must be looking good for you as we're going towards the chase for the championship this season.
Yeah, I had a quick look at that recently, actually, just to, you know, get a gauge of where I was sitting, because I think I'm in the normal points. I'm a little bit back, but you know, once you balance out the drop rounds going into this one, I think I was about 2 or 3 points off Jason. I think he's the overall leader once it all shakes out. And yeah, so with this, I mean, that should definitely help.
Yeah, well, it'll be exciting for the season final, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you then. Anyone you'd like to give a shout out to tonight?
Yeah, shout out to you guys, of course. The league, ANZCAR, Performance E-streaming. It's always enjoyable to, kick my feet up afterwards, watch the race with a cup of tea, enjoy it. Even on the ones that I don't do so well, because you guys always put on a stellar broadcast. Shout out to Ashton Crowder, so my teammates there. Obviously Braden was with us tonight. Graham as well. He was with us. He's not Ashton Crowder, but just a friend there, dropped in. Unfortunately, he then went flipping through the sky, which was unfortunate for him. But extremely entertaining for us. Shout out to Vegan Food Melbourne. Make sure you get around them on Instagram. Who else do I need to thank? The dancers, the fan club. Hopefully they were getting around the broadcast as well. Yeah. And, Jason as well. I'll give a shout out to Jason. Actually, he had a good run at the end, sort of kept me honest. Like I said, I was just trying to manage the pace as much as I could, but I couldn't really lay off. He was right there. So, as always, he's a superstar. You know that as well as I do, Carl. He certainly kept it pushing all the way to the end. So, yeah, shout out to everyone.
Thank you so much, Matt. Matt Danson there, the winner for the race here at New Hampshire.
Of course, Carl does have a bit of a man crush on Jason Martin. We should mention that. So, yeah, good race with Matt Danson.
Yeah, brilliant race there for him, and he did really well. And yeah, it's good to see that some humour was found in poor Graham's earlier incident.
Now, I think I will let you interview Jason a bit later, but I really want to talk to Edward Foster and have his take on the grudge fest, a bit of a grudge match between himself and Mackenzie in tonight's race. Edward Foster, Ryan Jones up in the Performance E-streaming booth. You didn't have a fantastic race today, so you're probably a bit surprised you dragged up here, but I really wanted to get your take on the bit of a grudge fest it looked like between yourself and Mackenzie.
First of all, yeah, you're right. I wasn't expecting a call up, and please excuse my voice. I've been a little bit unwell this week, so. But yeah, I mean, it was one of those things where he's gone the dive bomb early in the race, as per usual. I gave him space on that occasion, and then he's made a mistake in front of us and oversteered because he burned his tyres off like he's been doing for 3 years. Came back on the track. I got past him again, and he's gone to send the big dive bomb again. And on this occasion, he's managed to just drill me in the rear, which of course I wasn't overly pleased about. So anyway, next time I caught up with him, I gave him a shot back in the bumper, not to turn him or anything, just to let him know I was there and I was a bit displeased. And the next time we've come across each other, he's tried to drive me up into the fence. So yeah, I don't even know what to make of that. So I gave him another shunt in the rear. I believe he got caught up with a couple of people and got spun around. And then the next time he's caught up to me, he's decided to turn us again. So I would have thought he would have learnt after Dover how this always turns out, but he's made his decision. I just find it disappointing because he's been doing this for a long time and just, lunging in under brakes. And it's not even at the short tracks that he does it. He does it at the fast tracks. He does it everywhere. He's fast for about 3 or 4 laps, burns his tyres off, still tries to lunge in under people under brakes, and then when it all goes wrong, wonders why. And I just don't understand why he wouldn't have learned by now. But, that's my opinion. But in any event, that's, like I say, I can only drive my car, not his.
Harsh words from Edward Foster, driver of the 53 Legacy car. We wanted a bit of drama from this race, and you certainly provided it there with Darren Mackenzie. We will eagerly watch how that one unfolds over the next few races. One more question, because I can hear you're sick, and we'll let you go. Just about the championship, are you confident of yourself making the chase?
Yes.
All right. Short and sweet. That's how we like it. Thank you, Edward. Any shout-outs?
It's difficult to give too many shout-outs after a 12th place, so I might just go.
No worries. All right, Edward Foster, thank you for your observations on that race.
Thanks.
Bit of drama. We love a bit of drama, don't we, Carl?
Yes, you do love drama, Ryan. So I might just grab Jason Martin up here quickly, our second place finisher. Jason Martin, Carl Withy here, Performance E-Streaming. Congratulations on second place, and how are you going?
Good, thanks, mate. That would have been an entertaining race.
Yes, a fantastic race put on. We were a little bit worried at the start of the broadcast that nothing would happen or we'd get lots of pace cars. But luckily, it didn't turn out as that. We had some very good racing on track, and thankfully, yourself and Matt Danson managed to do a lot of that at the front, which is always good to see.
Yeah, I'm very happy to finish second here. I normally have a bit of issues here.
Yeah, I have noticed this season that you've been sort of doing better on some of the tracks you generally classically not quite as good at. Are you finding you're just changing some driving style this year, or are you just sort of different way of thinking as you go into some of these races?
No, I think it's just because I'm doing practice now. So, because I'm in a team now, so I'm doing more practice than before, so it really helps.
It's a disheartening thing to hear that you're getting better, Jason, because it's hard enough on some of us when we see you out there, but it's good to see you up there and fighting for the wins, which is always what we want to see. You started relatively far back in qualifying today. Were you expecting to get up into the second place, in all honesty?
I expected probably maybe top 3, but yeah, I absolutely had an awful qualifying lap. Overdrove turn 1 both attempts, so it was a pretty poor time.
Well, luckily things worked out for you, and of course this is going to put you into a good position for the upcoming chase and then for the championship. Are you feeling pretty confident about that?
No, not at all. Talladega's in one of them races, and that's a bit of a lottery ticket race, that one.
Well, it should be interesting nonetheless, and hopefully we'll get some nice close racing. At Talladega, of course, it is a bit of a lottery, so fingers crossed things go well for you there.
Yep, cheers, mate.
Thanks, Jason. And anyone you'd like to give a shout out to tonight?
Got to thank the boys at Mitch Motorsports. Without them, I probably wouldn't do as well in these races. So thanks for making me practice and giving me some advice and tips. BK Designs, ANZCAR for the league, and of course you guys at Performance E-Streaming for putting on the broadcast.
Not a problem. Thank you so much, Jason, and I'm sure we'll see you in the booth before the end of the season.
Let's hope so.
Jason Martin there, the second place man, and I believe he's going to be quite high up on the championship standings now for the table. Of course, that is before drop rounds come into action as well. So, yeah, things are looking good as we come towards the sort of tail end of this season, Ryan.
Yeah, things are spicing up. The drama's spicing up. We got a few grudges out there, a few unhappy drivers, as there always is in stock car racing. But it was a fantastic race, and it should be a fantastic finish for the championship over the next five or six rounds heading towards.
Yeah, keep watching, everybody, because it's only going to get better from here for sure. So yeah, it was a pretty interesting race all in all. So pretty exciting race. Some interesting incidents, but as always, we had some good racing.
A fantastic race. Some intriguing events were unfolding throughout that one, as I predicted might happen in my intro. So another prediction to me for that one. I had a few of them today, but if you've not got any last thoughts, Carl, I might.
Yes, well, I was just about to wrap us up myself, Ryan. So we will head off now, and we will see you next time at Kentucky, I believe it is. So we will see you in 2 weeks' time for some more Cup action. So from myself, Carl Withy, from Ryan Jones, and from Matt Hunter on the cameras, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you all next time for some more ANZCAR action.